When you think about an FPS, the first thing that comes to mind is aim. Aim in a game where your objective is shooting to kill is obviously an important thing, so I came up with the top 10 tips to perfect your aim in a game like Overwatch.
Not missing a single shot, all headshots, all headshots!
My name is Nate, and welcome to Blizzard Guides. Now, the way this guide is going to work is pretty simple. I'm going to break down every part of aiming so that you can really maximize the shots that you land instead of trying to overwhelm you with aim trainers and drills. I actually did a guide like this a while back, but I wasn't really happy with it and it wasn't that good. So I've created a new one from scratch that'll teach you what it takes to be a good aimer and be able to aim so well, and then also give you a few ways to practice that so you can develop your own style of aim and learn how to match the pros that you wish to be. I'm not going to go into specific tips for projectile hit scan or tracking until the very end of this video, since actually understanding movement and how to aim is more important than specializing at first. So let's get you on that road to great aim, and let's get started. The first thing that I want to talk about is a good sensitivity. I know that, you know that, everyone knows that, so I'm not going to waste time elaborating on this. I've got a good guide for finding the perfect sense up there in the top right corner, which you should go watch. You should be able to complete this drill without any warm-ups whatsoever. This should be relatively easy for you. If you really have to focus when you're doing this, you probably aren't on the right sensitivity, and you need to practice this drill so that you can do the more advanced stuff in the rest of this video. But with that out of the way, let's talk about locked movement. Whenever you see someone jumping or falling, they're not really going to have that much control over their movement, ever in any case. They'll always move in kind of like this arc. If you could do the drill from earlier, that means that you can definitely track that arc of movement and track them as they jump or fall. Look out whenever an enemy moves in that pattern and practice tracking them through their fall, even if you actually don't shoot at them. When you do this, you'll be able to land shots whenever somebody is in a predictable path such as this, and it'll greatly improve your accuracy and tracking in game, since when they're in a locked movement, they have no control and it's basically free shots for you to be able to land. I play a lot of FFA, and this was the first thing that I started focusing on that improved my aim a lot. And if you hate FFA, there's this aim trainer that has something similar, but I wouldn't say that this is very good practice alone. You need to be able to practice both to be successful. It's kind of like if you're training to do boxing or something, you're obviously gonna punch that hanging sack bag thing. I don't know what it's called, I don't exercise, but you don't want to just do that punching thing. You gotta spar with somebody to really know how to pull that rapid fire punch off. It's not a good example, but you get the point. Next up, let's talk about strafes. Strafing is notoriously difficult to land shots on, so here's a few tips that I have to offer whenever you're trying to shoot a strafing target. 1. Most players will always strafe the same distance. Instead of trying to track them as they strafe, when you see them move and then stop, aim your reticle in the opposite direction in the same length. Most, if not all, players do this at least once or twice while they strafe, so you'll have a very good chance at landing a shot, and if you're really feeling it, you can probably land a headshot if you aim a bit further to the direction that they're traveling, since most heroes lean when they strafe. And if they're crouch spamming, there's always a spot that you can land a shot on, with the exception of some heroes like Tracer and Mercy, so if you're having trouble dealing with that, just aim for the center of their body mass and you'll actually be able to land a shot more easily than you'd think. But wait, sometimes this is hard to land shots on. You might be able to track and you could definitely predict, but sometimes that reticle just doesn't land where you want it to. Your hand doesn't move the right way, you get stuck, frozen, something like that, and it just happens to everyone. This is actually where aim trainers come in. If you're having trouble snapping to targets so that you can start tracking, or maybe your mouse doesn't move far enough or something like that, and you're just having trouble lining up that crosshair in the correct distance, then an aim trainer will help that muscle memory to learn what distance on your mouse corresponds to the distance on your screen. Play 15 minutes of aim trainers to get that nailed down in your head, and you'll steadily improve very quickly. Focus more on being accurate than getting high scores in those trainers. The more shots that you land and the more that you move your mouse consistently, the better a player that you are. Next up, let's talk about locked animations. Locked animations are basically the hardcore mode of locked movement. Genji's dash, Pharah's barrage, Zen's volley, Hanzo's leap, Baptiste's jump, Mercy's guardian angel, and so many more abilities lock players into a movement that they have little control over. Whenever players use these abilities, if you have decent reaction time, you can easily predict where their heads or their bodies will be in the next moment, which allows you to do quite a bit of damage.
Finding those early shots. Whoa! Beautiful!
This is something that I couldn't really teach without going into every single animation, which I might do as a guide if you guys want me to, but if you pay attention to the movement patterns and develop your own feel for how enemies move, you'll become much more accurate. It doesn't seem like this would do much, but I'm telling you, the moment that you start focusing on it, the moment you become incredibly more accurate. Now that we covered what I consider to be the fundamentals of improving your aim, let's talk about a few things that will help you to maximize the shots that you land and make it a bit easier on you to land shots and a bit harder for your enemies to do the same. First off, trigger discipline. This is something that is crazy strong and a lot of people don't even realize exists or how important it is. There's a clip from Striker from like 2 years ago that I saw that made me realize how much I needed to get this down.
오케이. 너프 쓸게요 한번. 초월 빠졌어요 상대. 오케이. 우리 아나 쪽에 테레 잔다. 미안. 잡을 줄 알았어. 쏘지 말고 테레 다 잡았네. 저 약간 올게요.
The reason his aim almost looks like it's floating or something is because he only shoots when he's gonna land shots, which is incredibly critical for any heroes that solely rely on high impact or high important shots, which is any of these heroes that I'm going to put on screen. It seems simple, but if you're gonna miss, just don't shoot. Yet a lot of players hold down that trigger or mouse button down until they get a kill, which sometimes it does work, but it isn't that good because you need to reload right after that, or you don't have follow-up, or any of those reasons. Learn to hold back and shoot when shots will land, which often ends up killing faster than trying to unload your clip as fast as you can, especially in heroes like McCree or maybe Widowmaker. After that, even more important than that, is good reticle positioning. First, your reticle should always be at head level. Build this habit fast. Second, aim for the body. Yeah, body shots may not be as cool, but you'll never land headshots if you can't body shot. The only exception is if you're in a position where you have no pressure whatsoever, or so much pressure that you're gonna die and need to gamble the chance to get a kill since you're gonna die regardless. Otherwise, aim for the center of the body mass and work up to aiming for the head. I started aiming for the body consistently, and once I felt that I could consistently land shots and maintain high accuracies, then I would go for more headshots until now, where I reached 4300 playing aim heroes, and Overwatch is my first FPS, so this really did work for me. So just focus on the body shots, and unless you're, under low pressure or high pressure, like very, very high pressure. Another part of reticle positioning that I didn't mention is corner snapping or important position snapping. Build the habit of aiming at corners or places like health packs or chokes. Some players will kind of just hold their aim in weird spots. You need to get into the habit of locking in important areas so that eventually you'll be able to instantly snap around anywhere. This isn't something that you should really be too worried about, but it is something that you should have under your tool belt, because when you're scanning for enemies or trying to figure out where that last guy is, or maybe you're not sure where anybody is at all. One thing that'll help you track and flick better is if you match the movement of your enemy. If you're moving in the same direction of your enemy, you'll be able to actually not have to move your reticle at all if your reticle is on top of them. Since you're both moving at the same velocity and same direction, then your reticle actually doesn't have to move at all. This means that you can land shots on somebody that's not looking at you a lot easier, but it actually also means that they can land shots on you more easily. There's a concept called aim domination that I like to think about when I aim, and it basically means that if this pattern happens where the enemy is matching your movement, you're actually in control of what goes on, and you're able to suddenly change your movement and be able to compensate for that. So let's say that you're both moving in the same direction and suddenly you go the exact opposite direction, you're gonna know to move your reticle to the right a bit more or to the left a bit more. Watch out for this, and you can actually juke your opponents a lot easier, and you'll be able to track them a lot better, and this comes directly from that first tip from that aim drill. Keep in mind that you can actually use your movement to aim if you have trouble when opponents are strafing and moving. So if you match their strafe or match their movement, this will help you if you really need it. So that's just less stress on your aim alone, and you'll be a much better aimer. And finally, I'm going to go over a few quick tips to maximize each type of aiming. For projectile heroes, it's just prediction, but if you can track your enemy, and then once they enter one of those so-called locked animations or movements, you're actually able to flick to the spot that they will be next, which you need to gain a feel for, but will actually be incredibly easy once you understand the concept of locked animations and movements. Then for hit scan, when you're flicking, one thing to consider is that you don't actually need to flick to the target and stop moving your hand to land the shot. It's actually more important understanding the timing of your click rather than the actual flick itself. If your reticle lands at any point on the head of the enemy, you have the opportunity to click and get the kill. So if you flick, worry more about clicking than your actual aim, and you'll actually land your flicks more often and then stop at the target more often. And for tracking heroes, the most important thing that you can do is to stay calm. Focus on the velocity of your enemy and maximize those times that you can 100% accurately predict their movement rather than trying to land every shot. So that's where that locked animation and locked movement comes in. If you only successfully track when they're jumping or falling or strafing predictably, you'll actually kill a lot of things a lot faster than you'd think. But that's all I have for you today. Huge shout out to all of our Discord Nitro boosters. You guys are awesome and thank you for the support. If you guys want to join our Discord and join that crew, the link's right there in the description, right next to our Twitter and Instagram. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Have a nice day. My name is Nate, and this was Blizzard Guides.